Hey there. If you're returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're new, welcome. The series reports on events and 5 points in history associated with the date going back 100 years, 50 years, 25 years, 10 years, and 1 year ago. November 4th, 1924. The U.S. presidential election concludes with Calvin Coolidge winning in a landslide. Charles G. Dawes would serve as Coolidge's vice president. Coolidge had worked his way through politics, acquiring a wide range of experience by serving in several positions. He started his political career as a city council member in Northampton, Massachusetts, eventually becoming the city's mayor. He served in Massachusetts State House and Senate, and then went on to serve as lieutenant governor and then as governor. Prior to the 1924 election, Coolidge had been serving as vice president under Warren G. Harding until Harding's death in 1923, after which Coolidge became president. Coolidge decided to pursue re-election in 1924 and served during what is considered to be a relatively calm period between World War I and World War II. In 1927, Coolidge would announce that he had no desire to pursue another term and would not be participating in the 1928 election. He would complete his term in 1929 and return to Northampton, where he would pass away in 1933 at the age of 60. November 4th, 1974. Judith Ward was sentenced to a minimum of 30 years related to the M62 coach bombing. Ward was 25 years old at the time and would be arrested 10 days after the bombing occurred on the M62 motorway in West Yorkshire. The target of the bombing was a bus carrying members of the British Army. Of the 9 soldiers killed, one was traveling with his wife and 2 sons, who were also killed, resulting in 12 deaths. The blast also injured 38 others. Ward had been working with a circus, traveling from place to place, sometimes sleeping outside, ending up in Liverpool shortly after the bombing. Police noticed her taking shelter from the rain in the doorway of a shop, though the reason that led them to believe Ward was involved is somewhat unclear. I typically avoid adding my own speculation, but in this case, it is claimed that she was at the time mentally ill, and perhaps upon encountering her, the police found her behavior to be somewhat odd. After long periods of interrogation, a sleep deprived Ward did confess to the M62 incident, as well as 2 other bombings, and allegedly claimed to have performed other actions in service to the IRA. There are too many twists and turns to cover here, but multiple sources do seem to agree that Ward's confessions were very inconsistent. Criticisms of the prosecution claim that they had cherry picked and pieced together different statements to form a coherent portrayal of events. Ward had recanted her confession, denying all accusations prior to the trial, and entered a plea of not guilty. She claimed the confessions were made under duress because she had been threatened with physical violence during the interrogations. There were also other problems with physical evidence obtained through testing Ward's hands for residue, which experts claimed results confirmed a positive match consistent with the bomb used in the attack. The tests were later found to be seriously flawed. It was also claimed that expert forensic witnesses improperly reported results to the court. After serving 18 years in prison, Ward's sentence was reversed on appeal and she was released. Her sentence was eventually overturned. Many articles provide more detailed accounts of the M62 bombing, as well as Ward's own account in her book Ambushed, My Story. November 4th, 1999. The remains of 14-year-old Bobbie Wofford are found in a wooded area outside of Kingfisher, Oklahoma. According to reports, hunters contacted police after finding Wofford's purse containing a library card issued to Wofford. Upon searching the area, police found remains and observed severe trauma to the skull. The clothing found with the remains matched the description of the clothing worn by Wofford when she was last seen 4 months earlier on July 5th, around 4 a.m., outside of a convenience store, talking with a man described to be in his 40s. The details of how Wofford ended up out at 4 a.m. by herself are not entirely clear. According to the account given by her mother, Bobbie had left to spend the night with a friend a couple days before she was last seen. The day after the sleepover, she would be heading to Lake Canton to spend the holiday weekend. Investigators had little else to go on, causing the investigation to stall. In 2001, Tommy Lynn Sells confessed to killing Wofford. Sells had been apprehended back in 2000 for breaking into a home and brutally murdering a 13-year-old girl and slitting the throat of her 10-year-old friend that had been in the same bedroom for a sleepover. Sells thought he had left her for dead, but the girl survived and was later able to identify Sells. He would be tried and convicted for the murder and received the death penalty, leading to his execution in 2014. He had confessed to many murders, claiming that he'd killed over 70 people during the time he traveled across the United States. Authorities found some of Sell's stories to be inconsistent with the details that were not publicly known to some of the related investigations, though some of Sell's confessions did line up. Reports state that authorities concluded that they could confirm of his claims, attributing 22 victims to Sell's reign of terror. Initially, Sell's confession to Wofford's murder gave investigators hope that they finally had some answers, but there were doubts about the validity of the claims, and the case remained unsolved. It is not clear if authorities ever officially declared Sells as responsible. A post from 2020 on the official Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation Facebook page indicates that the case is still unsolved, requesting anyone with information about Bobbie's case to come forward. Their official site also contains information about Wofford in the cold case section of the website. November 4th, 2014. 2014 U.S. midterm elections occurred. Republicans picked up 9 seats, gaining enough seats to control the Senate, which they last held in 2006. Republicans held 54 seats, Democrats 44, and Independents 2. Elections for House seats also went well for the Republican Party, resulting in a gain of 13 seats, which increased the majority already held by the party. Republicans held 247 seats to Democrats' 188 seats. November 4th, 2023. In Tehran, people rallied in the streets, including a gathering outside the location formerly serving as the U.S. Embassy. Those gathered protested against the U.S. and Israel, condemning U.S. support of the conflict in Gaza. The day was chosen intentionally on the 44th anniversary of the Iran hostage crisis. The embassy was taken over, resulting in many Americans being taken hostage, with most remaining captive for a year and a half. Events leading up to the embassy takeover were the result of the power structure within the Iranian government shifting after a revolution overthrew the Iranian monarchy. In 1977, Iranians started to openly express their dissatisfaction toward Mohammad Reza Shah. In 1974, the Shah had been diagnosed with cancer. By 1978, it became much worse, resulting in treatment that had strong side effects. This reportedly caused him to check out as a revolution spun up. His inaction and lack of direction to his court was a poor counter to the growing revolution. In the early part of 1979, the Shah fled the country, eventually making his way to the U.S. for medical treatment. Supposedly, the group of students had planned to take the embassy in an attempt to use the hostages to bargain for the Shah, demanding that the U.S. turn him over to the Islamic Revolution, as well as making other demands. The U.S. refused, and though some hostages would be released, it was not until January 1981 that the remaining 52 hostages were released. This is just scratching the surface. There is, of course, too much to cover in detail here in relation to the back and forth that took place between the U.S. and Iran during the crisis. There's also quite a bit of history leading up to the Shah's rise and fall and the history of the Islamic Revolution. That's all for this video. If you enjoyed this content and haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. And I also really appreciate if you could leave a like. Thanks for watching.